Sup fam, it's your girl Sherry and this is Obsidian Texts and Tangents. As I was getting ready to do my first set of reviews for this channel from my reads from July, it occurred to me that I might need to revamp the way I do my rating system so that it makes sense for other people and to also to just like make it make sense out loud to other people to kind of so you know why I gave things the rating I gave them, because those might not be factors like either positive or negative for you when you're considering if you want to read a book. I think a star rating by itself is like useless information to have, and saying whether or not being like, oh, I like the book is also not super helpful. So I gave it some thought, and this is going to be a little video about my rating systems. Okay, first of all, I didn't mean my laptop. That was my lunch break, and that was my work Skype. So first, so this is a new channel, and I thought that this little introduction into how I'm going to be rating this little introduction into how we'll be rating books will be very helpful to my viewers. And I have a Goodreads channel, which is linked in my YouTube channel's like homepage in the little top right. If you go there, you will notice that I have had that Goodreads channel or that Goodreads page for going on 2 years, but up until now, it's been used for my own personal keeping track of what I'm reading and how many stars I gave it. So there's literally no reviews for any books in there. I will start putting reviews in my Goodreads, but right now there aren't any. But you can see how much I liked a book there. That being said, I'm gonna take you through my original system, which will help you figure out why I gave books certain ratings that I gave them on Goodreads before today, which is like August 3rd. So there's that. So how I was rating books before July when I started this YouTube channel. This first rating system that I'm about to tell you will speak to that. So if you want to know why I gave things certain ratings, my Goodreads, that will be applicable to this first rating system. Also, my second more like detailed rating system is really set up for stories. And so it's very hard to apply to other types of work. And when I say story, I mean like a story, not necessarily, it doesn't have to be in prose. It could be a graphic novel, or something like that, but it's like a consistent story. So not a set of like short stories, not like a collection, and not like basically set up for fiction. Like it would be very hard to use the rating system that I came up with on something like a memoir or something like that. So for those, we're going to still be using this original rating system that I've been using semi-subconsciously up until now. So rating system 1.0 is what we're gonna call it. Sherry's rating system 1.0. Sherry's rating system 1.0 is a 5-star rating system. It's a 5-star rating system based on like how I feel. So number one, like 1 star is whatever that work is going to be a no for me. Do not care for it. Probably think it's pretty like detrimental. Like it's gonna be a no for me, and I would want it to be a no for everyone else. Like, we ain't got no redeeming features in that. It's probably toxic as hell. Like, not if the characters or anything or the relationships in it. I mean, it, like, the work of itself is toxic as hell and perpetuates toxic ideas. Toxic and harmful ideas. So, I don't rate very many things 1 star. I have to actually go back and look at my Goodreads to see if I've given anything a 1 star rating since I started it, but I don't think so. 2 stars is still gonna be a no for me. Cause I didn't like it. 3 stars is a meh. It was like, it had its good parts, it had its bad parts. It probably wasn't necessarily for me, but I could definitely see how it would be for someone else. And it wasn't bad. Like, or maybe it was for me, but I didn't feel moved by it or anything like that. Like, it didn't really speak to me, but it was like, okay, that's solid. It's solid. I could see why people would like that, or I liked a couple parts of it, a few parts of it. Yeah. And then number 4 stars, sorry. 4 stars is like, it was good. I enjoyed it quite a bit. It was a very enjoyable read. Maybe there was like an aspect or so in it that I didn't quite think hit the way it needed to or should have. And so it wasn't like perfection for me, but it was quite good, which is 4. Most of the books that I read, okay, 5 stars is that it was great. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed every freaking minute of it. It hit on so many levels. Like, everything that it was trying to do, it did it, baby, and it did it well, okay? Chef's kiss to this author and this story and these characters and this world, and just like everything about it, amazing. So that's what number 5 is. Deeply relatable. So, most of the things I read get a 3 or higher because I'm a slow reader. It takes me a while to read through something. I'm not going to read something that I know I'm not going to enjoy, or that it's a high possibility that I'm not going to enjoy. So I curate the books based on the authors, types of stories, themes that I enjoy reading, and then I read those books. So most of the time, things get at least a 3 from me that I'm reading. See how doesn't really translate very well for making reviews and recommendations for other people. Probably not very helpful for you all. Oh, it's my tea. I did already have a cup of tea because I was being prepared, but like I said, it's my lunch break for work, so this water is cold. Need to get some hot water. See you in a minute. I'm back. Now it's too hot to drink. But, so that's the old rating system. Rating system 1.0. We'll still be using it as I figure out a way to better rate things that aren't novels. My new rating system 2.0, okay, is also a 5-star rating system, but each star is a different component of the work and how I felt about it. So number one is the setting and the world building. So how well was the world built? What were the elements of the world? Could I confidently tell someone how the world worked outside of just can I envision the world as a whole outside of whatever small part of the world we're in? Can I tell someone about how the world works? Like, if they're cast, like how those work, how those fit together, how people are set up, all those things. And like, does the world make sense? Are there things about it, like, is it consistent? Is the world building consistent throughout the story? So if you tell me that things are done a certain way in this world, that this is the way, like, for example, this is the way the judicial system is set up in this world. Something happens later in the story and then things don't follow those procedures. Like, that's an inconsistency that I would notice and not jive with, right? So is it well built? What are the elements of the world? Did I think they make sense? Did it go well? Did I like them in general? How confident am I in being able to explain this world to someone who has no context to it, and for it to make sense? Does it make sense? Is it consistent throughout the story? So that's the world building and setting. Number 2 is character development. So not only, like, you know, who these characters are, what are their personalities, but like, were they fully developed, multifaceted people, beings? Were they one-sided? Like, were they fully fleshed out? So, and that for me is not only the main characters, but also the secondary characters. Also the villain, whoever is the villain, the antagonist. Like, are they fully fleshed out, or are they one-dimensional? Like, because how fun is that? Also, are there any Black characters? Like, I don't know if other people do. I know other people I know do this, but I don't know how common this is amongst the entire, like, global diaspora. But I always have an awareness of if I'm the only Black person in a room. Are there any Black characters in this book? Are they the only Black character? How developed is that character? You already know I'm not gonna like it if they're the only one Black person in this book, as if the tokenism, I can't. Anyways, I digress. Let me not even get into it. Another thing about the world building is, does it cause me to reflect? Is the world built in a way in which the systems that it encompasses, that it consists of, that it inhabits, cause me to reflect in some type of way on the world that I live in, or the world that could be. So back to character. Are there any LGBTQ plus characters in this story? Where they at? I'm looking for a diverse set of cast of characters. I'm looking for some intersectionality, because that's how people exist in the real world. So I'm looking for a reflection of that in the stories that I'm reading, especially when it comes to identities that I occupy and identities that I think are highly underrepresented in media as a whole. So there's that. And then, how do or don't I relate to the characters? Are the characters compelling? Even the characters that I don't like, do I respect them? Can I actually understand why they made the choices that they made based on the people that they are, and have been described to be? Or are they inconsistent and their choices don't make sense to who the author has characterized them to be up until that point? So basically, for characters that I'm not someone who needs to like all the characters. My favorite characters are, they're people that I like, but I don't need to like a character to have respect for them, right? Like, I don't need to like an individual person in real life to have respect for them, but I would like to be able to respect them. So I need them to have some consistency in their characterization and for them to like make sense for who they are, not necessarily who I want them to be, because if that was the case, we'd be looking at a whole different world right now. Anyway, next up is plot and themes. So what's the perspective or the point of view that the story is told in or from? Is that, like, how does that shape what the plot is and what themes we hear and how the world is, the lens in which the world is viewed, right? And what were the themes? Were they examined? Were they examined from different perspectives? Were they clear? Were there some that were like very cleverly interwoven that I picked out? How impactful is it to me and relatable to me that I thought the themes were? Did I think they were important? Did I enjoy that perspective or point of view? Did it challenge something for me? Did it reinforce something? Something like that. Something like that, along those lines. Next is my overall enjoyment. So basically, that's the space where I tell you whether I liked it or not, which is the whole basis of the rating system 1.0. So how did I enjoy it? Did I like it in some way? Even if the story was like challenging, was it educational? Did it challenge, like, why was it challenging? Was it challenging in a way that I liked, or was it challenging because it was just like bad and hard to read? Did I just think it was bad and hard to read? And the like, that'll be a very like subjective, I mean, they're all very subjective, but that will be a very like, this is just how the feelings that it made me feel situation. And then lastly is the recommend or purchase, like recommend and or purchase. So would I recommend this book? Who would I recommend this book to? What are the things that someone would like that would translate to them wanting to read this book? And do I plan on purchasing it? Like, did I like it enough that I'm like, oh yeah, that's on my purchase list? Because I don't purchase a lot of books before I read them. Most of my books are through the library, either Libby or Hoopla. So, or I've borrowed them from someone. So yeah, so do I plan on purchasing it for myself? So that's going to be my rating system. I will hopefully like give y'all a little background on the author and what the synopsis is, and if it's not a spoiler one, I will just walk y'all through the rating for it. If it is a spoiler review, I will give you a lot more detail about how I felt about which parts, and probably just directly pick through highlights and lowlights of the book. But yes, so to wrap that up so that it is more clear and coherent, I have 2 rating systems that I'll be working with. It'll be, I don't know what my hand is doing. There'll be 2 rating systems that I'll be working with. Rating system 1.0, which will be very like me and my feelings, and that will be applied to works that aren't easily represented through the rating system 2.0, which is honestly more fit for novels or works in which a coherent and consistent story is being told throughout the entire work. So first First reviews coming soon. Anyways, let me know what y'all think about the rating systems. I'm going to, of course, in the next maybe 6 months or so, think about how to come up with a rating system that is applicable across different types of works, but also maybe not. We'll see. Anyways, let me know in the comments below how you rate your books. Like, what things do you take into account when you rate them? Do you have a standardized system? Again, the reason why I am creating the rating system 2.0 is so that it is more relevant and translatable to you all as a way to kind of understand more about a book, to see if you wanted to read it or not, and not just like, oh, I liked it, which honestly means nothing to no one, kind of, because it's not helpful. It's not enough information to be helpful. So anyways, comment down below, let me know how you rate books. If you rate books, what things you take into consideration. Like this video, subscribe, tell your friends, and I will see you next time. Bye.